Good morning to everyone once again. My name is Fatima, and I'm working with Curtin University, Dubai. Of course, I have been in touch with most of the schools, the participants, and everybody. I welcome one and all here today. Thank you for coming here for the workshop session today, and we'll run you through for the STEM challenge you have registered for. I will give you just a brief idea about the 2 week challenge, which is coming next week. On the 18th April is the first round, which we'll go through right now. It's a quiz challenge. Round two would be spread across the week from 19th to 24th, as it's a build challenge. Round three and four being knockout and jeopardy, it will be on the same day on the 29th, wherein the winners will also be uh, announced. So again, starting the session once more, I would request Mr. Daniel Atkins, CEO of Transnational Academic Group, to lead the session. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you so much, Fatima. I really appreciate that. And thank you to all of the students and counselors who have joined in today to hear about the Interschool STEM Challenge for 2021. Let me start off by saying we really wish that we were able to hold this as a physical face-to-face session instead of having to hold it virtually. But given the current very well-reasoned precautions being taken due to COVID-19, we're not able to do that. Despite that, we have increased the number of teams that have joined from about 60 teams last year to more than 100 teams this year. So I really want to commend everyone from the schools and all of the students for putting out such a great showing of interest in STEM, even though we're working through the pandemic. In fact, it may actually be because we're working through the pandemic that there's so much interest in STEM. I would imagine that there are a number of students who probably weren't thinking about science as a career or thinking that much about science until the pandemic hit, and they suddenly realized how important science was to our everyday lives. And in truth, we're now all relying on science and medical science to protect us from this pandemic, to save our lives, and to eventually get us back to a normal situation where we don't have to wear masks and social distance with everything that we do. I really want to commend all of the students who are involved in this STEM challenge. You're showing a tremendous understanding of what the future is going to be like. As we look forward at the careers that are going to be most in demand coming out of the pandemic and over the next 40 to 50 years, many of the best paying, most reliable, and truthfully most interesting careers are going to be in STEM fields. And you may have heard your teacher say at some point that we can't teach you what you need to know for the careers of the future because they don't even exist now. Many of you during your working lifetime are going to be working in job functions and maybe in entire disciplines that don't even exist now. If we were to go back 10 years, the idea of working as a gravitational wave astronomer just didn't exist because we didn't even know if gravitational waves actually existed. And now there's an entire discipline where we are, for the first time in human history, doing astronomy and looking at features of the cosmos based on gravitational waves. And this is what the future is going to be like. One of the most important things that your schools and your universities can do is to teach you how to learn. It's impossible for any school or university to teach you about things that don't yet exist. And in fact, schools and universities tend to be at least 5, maybe even 10 years behind the leading edge of science or technology. So by the time it's offered as a university course, or by the time it gets back to being taught in secondary school, it's almost old hat. The fields have moved on. What this STEM challenge is meant to do is to inspire you to learn on your own, because the leaders of tomorrow, the people who are going to be doing things that truly impact the world, the people who are going to be winning the Nobel Prizes and the field medals, the people who are going to be starting the companies that keep the economy going and that grow the economy out of this depression that was caused by COVID-19, are going to be the people who are autodidactic, people who learn on their own. I associate with many people who are top academics and top scientists, and every single one of them studies and learns on their own. They're not going back to university and taking formal courses. They're reading the scientific literature, reading the popular science. They are studying on their own all the time. They're constantly reading, and not just in their discipline area, they read broadly. We've gotten to the point in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, medicine, where we're no longer in a single discipline. The solutions that are being developed now, the business ideas that are going to drive us into the future, are cross discipline. They incorporate maybe one aspect of the hard sciences along with some technology combined with some engineering and probably a little psychology thrown in there. As you go forward in your studies, as you go forward in your careers, you need to understand that while you will be a specialist within one particular discipline, you also need to remain a generalist and have a decent idea of what's going on in all of the other STEM disciplines. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is by extensive reading on your own. And you might be thinking, wow, that sounds like a lot of work. And it is, but it's worth it. And the second thing that we're hoping to do with this STEM challenge is to inspire in you a passion for learning. I think if you talk to anyone that knows me, that associates with me, they'll tell you I'm absolutely passionate about learning. I read every day, constantly, across many, many disciplines. I always try and know what's going on in all of the different disciplines within science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Because I know, even in my role as CEO of an educational institution, it's important that I understand what's going on now, and from that, what the future is likely to hold. Teachers and educators will tell you that, as Socrates said, education is not the filling of a vessel, it's the kindling of a flame. It's not about we as educators taking the knowledge that's in our brain and pouring it into your brain, filling up your brain. That's not how it works. Education is about us as educators showing you how absolutely passionate we are about the subject. And then from that, you developing that passion yourself and you using that passion to invest the time and energy to go out and study on your own broadly across as many disciplines as you can. That is the way that you need to go if you want to be truly successful in the future. Whether you want to be the next Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, leading leading edge technology companies, including things like Tesla and SpaceX, or whether you want to do something that is for the good of the whole world, like Norman Borlaug, who developed the Green Revolution and a way to grow food that has kept more than 1 billion people from starving to death, or whether you want to be like Jenner or Salk, who developed vaccines that have saved literally billions of lives. You need to constantly be reading and studying and learning about science. So, when we set up this STEM challenge, we did it with that in mind. As we go through the rounds, you're going to find that we're tapping into many, many different disciplines across science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So, one question might be about astronomy. The next question you deal with might be on geology, followed by something that's pure mathematics, biology, and then physics. It really requires you to have a broad set of knowledge. And our hope is that no matter how you do in the STEM challenge, you'll realize that there's still more to learn. And we hope that it will then inspire you to go out and learn as much as you can across as many disciplines as you can. So that's why we're doing this. Now let's talk about the how. We're going to start off with round one with more than 100 teams participating, doing a Kahoot challenge where we have 50 questions that will be asked using the Kahoot platform. Every member of your team will participate as an individual. And at the end of those 50 questions, we will then total up and take the average or the mean of the scores for your team. And the 30 teams with the highest scores, highest average score out of the Kahoot challenge, out of round one, will then move on to round two. So, with the first challenge, it is important that you make sure that you are in a place where you have good, strong internet access and that you have preferably two devices, your phone for actually answering the Kahoot questions and a laptop or tablet or some other device so that you can separately be on the Zoom call, watching the questions come up, being able to see the pictures that are associated with them and things like that. As there are some pure mathematics questions, we would also suggest that you have with you a scientific calculator so that you can perform some of the equations that you'll need to in order to answer some of the questions. Now, you might be thinking, well, Kahoot, this is easy. We'll just make use of Dr. Google and be able to answer the questions that way. We've actually tested this out, and there are some questions within the 50 that you could probably do that with, although we deliberately set the time limit very short so that you don't have the opportunity to try and cheat like that. But the majority of questions are ones that do not lend themselves to Googling. Even if you're a Google Foo master and you're able to find things very well, it's unlikely you'd be able to find the answers to these questions just based on Googling. So please, out of being honorable people, answer the questions on your own and participate fairly. So that's round one. The 30 teams that have the highest average score coming out of round one will then proceed on to round two. And a representative from the team will come into Curtin Dubai's campus and will pick up the materials needed for round two. And in round two, what you will be doing is building a bridge that will then be tested to see how strong it is. So you as a team can, if you're within each other's COVID bubble or you are able to observe proper safety precautions, you can get together and build your bridge, or you can have one person on your team do the physical building while everybody else provides engineering input. That will be your choice. When you are done building the bridge, you'll go ahead and bring the bridge back into Curtin Dubai's campus, and then we will have a session where we will go through and video testing all of the bridges to see which ones are able to hold the greatest amount of weight. Once we have done that, the top 12 teams, and this will be based on a combined score of both the quiz that was done on Kahoot and the bridge challenge, will then go into round three, the knockout rounds or the elimination rounds. When we get into round three, we will have brackets where a pair of teams will go head to head with each other. We will go through a series of timed questions, and the entire team is able to work on those questions together, whether collaboratively over Zoom or whether you are all physically in one place, maintaining appropriate protections. The team will be able to work together and come up with an answer for each of the questions. The team that scores the best between those two teams will move on to the next round. And we'll continue the knockout rounds until we are down to our top three teams. Now, those top three teams will then go on to the final round. And the final round is set up like Jeopardy. Now, last year when we did it, we had one Jeopardy board and we played very much like the traditional rules of Jeopardy. Since we're not able to be face to face this year, we are setting it up where each team will have a Jeopardy board. And the questions will be similar in difficulty across all of the boards. And we will have the teams go through, play the questions, and at the end, the team with the highest score will win the STEM challenge. Now, of course, there will be prizes for the students who are on the team that comes in first, second, and third. There will also be individual prizes for the top scoring people in the first round, the Kahoot challenge, to recognize the individuals who do the best at that quiz. Now, as far as the prizes go, of course, there will be trophies and plaques and medals to go to you as individuals and also to your school. There'll be prizes for your guidance counselor or mentor for this challenge to recognize their contribution to organizing the team and helping you work. And of course, there will be scholarships to come to Curtin University Dubai for all of the teams who come in first, second, and third. So there are other prizes, those will be surprises. You'll find out about those as we get to the end. So with that, I would like to go ahead and start taking questions. So I'll just answer the questions that are in the Q&A live and go from there. So are the questions in the first round MCQ or descriptive? So the majority of them are MCQ. Some of them are type the answer type questions. And one of them is a puzzle where you have to put 4 items into their proper order. Okay, so which specific fields do you study for? All of them. There are questions out of pretty much every field of science, although if you only have a limited time, you definitely need to look at chemistry, biology, physics, and astronomy, cosmology for the sciences. And then, of course, good knowledge of tech, engineering, and mathematics. Okay, there was a question on when is round 2. Lanita or Fatima, could you answer the date?
Yes, sure then. Round 2 is basically a build challenge, and it will be across a week, starting between 19th and 24th. So the 30 teams which move forward, they would have the time between 19th and 24th to pick the kit, complete the build, and then come and submit it to the university.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So there's a question, aside from the areas math, chemistry, physics, biology, astronomy, and IT, is there any specific scope or topics we need to study on? If you're studying in all those areas, you should do extremely well. That covers the vast majority of what's there. There's a question, during round 1, can we call our teammates and discuss? You have anywhere from 10 seconds to at most 60 seconds for the calculation questions. So it is unlikely you would have time, and it actually would not be to your benefit, because if it works out and you all get the answer correct, yes, it could raise your average score. But if you get the answer wrong, all of you get the answer wrong and it lowers your average score. It's much better for each team member to answer the questions in round 1 on their own. And that way, if 3 out of 4 are right, you do better than you might have if the one person who was wrong was able to persuade you that their answer was correct. So everyone is supposed to do round 1 on their own. So we've talked about topics covered in the competition. What materials are going to be given to build the bridge? The bridge is going to be done with popsicle sticks and some glue that's provided. Okay, so there were 2 questions on that. Another question on what topics we need to focus on. Another question on can we discuss with team members during round 1, which is no. Will the team have to be present together post round 2? No. Our expectation is that through all of the rounds, all of the team members will be participating from home. So we're expecting that even during the knockout rounds and during the finals, each of the 4 team members will be in different locations, and you'll just discuss among yourselves and then say final answer and what your final answer is. Okay, the question about how long to build the bridge. You'll have 1 week to build the bridge. The timing of the first round. The first round will take roughly 1 hour. It actually runs about 45 minutes, but we are allotting an hour for that. And then there is going to be some time after that for us to total up and average the scores before we would be able to announce who the top 30 teams are. Okay, so round two, um, there was a bit of a glitch. Someone wasn't able to hear. So round two will be building a bridge out of materials that are provided by Curtin Dubai. And then the bridges will be brought in and they'll be tested by our engineering professor who will see how much weight they can hold. And that will all be filmed so that everyone's able to see that it was conducted fairly. The bridge that can hold the highest weight, of course, would win first in that um, round. And then there will be a totaling up of the scores from that round, along with the scores from round one, to come up with which teams are then going into the knockout rounds. Question: will the competition be repeated in the future? Yes, this is an annual competition. So we will be doing this next year. And what our hope is that going through this year will give you a good idea what the competition is like and allow you to even better prepare for next year. The best way to prepare for the Kahoot is the same as the best way to prepare for all of the parts of this competition, which is just learn as much as you can about as many areas of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics as you possibly can before the start of the competition. Anything in particular we're focusing on? No, we tried to pick questions that were across every discipline within science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So there's not one area to focus on. What is the maximum level of question difficulty? Some of the questions are undergrad level, early, first or second year undergrad. Some of them are more 10th grade level. So as you go across, I think you'll find some questions will be quite easy, some will be much more challenging. And that's how we'll be able to see how strong your knowledge is in the STEM fields. The level of difficulty for the first round is the same. Starts out at about year 10 or IGCSE level and goes up to probably first or second year university level. As far as building the bridge, you'll build the bridge at your home or another place where you can maintain proper COVID safety precautions. Due to KHDA's very wise regulations around COVID-19, we're not permitted to host students from high schools at the university, and also high schools are not permitted to send students on field trips of any kind. So it's forbidden from both ends. So you'll do your bridges at home or at another place that you and your team decide to. So for the first round, every member of the team will be playing Kahoot, not just one. And you'll receive a link to the Zoom. And when we start the Zoom webinar, we will then put up the game number for the Kahoot so that everyone is able to join in. And again, the Kahoot's being done individually. There are no reference materials. This is just pulled from general knowledge across all of the STEM fields. As far as the timing for round one, it will be about an hour. And one of the things that we will want to get from the teams is when would be the best time to schedule this. And we'll be talking about that after we've answered all of the questions. Is there any sort of negative marking? No, there is no negative marking. We just look at the number of correct answers, and in the Kahoot portion, how quickly the answers are put in. This is another thing that discourages people from using Google or other resources. Even if you get the right answer, if you get it at the last second, you're going to score significantly lower than someone who got the right answer in the first 2 or 3 seconds. So again, it's best to answer on your own from your own knowledge as opposed to trying to look things up, because even if you get the answer right, you'll still have lost a lot of points because of the amount of time. We talked about what knowledge was required. Um, yeah, so for building the bridge, you're only permitted to use the materials from the kit. You're not able to use any other materials, and that's one thing that our engineering professor will be looking at, is to make sure that the uh, bridge is not using any foreign materials other than what was provided in the kit. Are the questions theoretical, such as what scientist created what and so on, or are they more like exam style questions? Uh, some of each. So there are questions about, who invented this or who wrote this, who came up with this theory. There's questions of what is this, and there are questions around, uh, you know, given this equation, what's the answer? So you have all of those different aspects coming into it. For the mathematics, um, we did not go any higher in mathematics than algebra or geometry level. We did not, at least in round one, get into trig and calculus, although those may show up in round 3 or 4, the knockout round of the finals. Okay, a question about the first round and when will it be. So we'll talk about when will it be at the end. As to what happens, it will be a Zoom webinar. Everyone will join. They'll be given a Kahoot quiz number. Every individual will log into the Kahoot quiz. We'll go through the 50 questions, take an average of the scores of the members of each team, and then we will, at that point, figure out the top 30 teams who will be able to proceed. Question is it too late to add another team member? The teams are limited to 4, so if you have 3 members on your team, we could work with you for you to add a 4th and get to a full team. There aren't any references we can point you to, again, other than just general knowledge about all of these subjects. You can use your textbooks from school. I would strongly suggest reading as much science news and technology news as you can, because some of the questions are about things that are going on right now, things that may have only been in the news in the past 1 or 2 months. Okay, links that I use for daily reading. That's quite a bit. I'll provide those to our team and let those be sent out to everyone so that everyone has those. Okay, the Jeopardy round. So the Jeopardy round, each team will get to answer 5 questions across 6 topics, and we will throw in there the daily double. So the order in which you answer the questions could end up being important, as would be what you decide to risk in the daily double. So it's very important that you're familiar with how Jeopardy works, and that you are ready to answer questions across many topics. Each team will get to work on their questions on their own. It won't be going back and forth, team to team, where a team could steal or something like that. Each team will either get the answer correct or incorrect on their own. Okay, so the comp sci portion, does it require you to evaluate computer programs, or is it ICT? It is more specifically ICT, although in the knockout round or in the Jeopardy round, it might be that some pseudocode is put up and one has to determine what the pseudocode would return. But it would not be specific to any particular programming language. If it is something related to programming, it would be pseudocode. So there aren't any specific resources to practice with, just general knowledge. Okay, we talked about what the first round is just a moment ago. Can you buy extra popsicle sticks for the bridge? No, we actually will count the popsicle sticks. You're not allowed to use more than you're provided in the kit, because doing so would allow you to strengthen the bridge much more than other people. So again, only the things that are used in the kit. Okay, as far as substituting a team member, if you have questions about that, please contact Lanita or Fatima. They will work with you on getting the team composition worked out. But if a team member, for example, has become unavailable, substituting in another team member would be fine. Is it in IT, is it pure engineering or computer science? Actually covers a little bit of both. It also covers some history of IT. How can the representative of the team collect the items needed for the bridge challenge? So one member of the team will be able to come to Curtin Dubai's campus and collect the materials there. We'll have them in COVID safe bags so that you can take it, make sure to clean your hands with good antibacterial hand sanitizer or antiviral hand sanitizer, and then open it up and make use of it. Are we allowed to use any tools or materials to build the bridge? You can use any tools you want, but no materials. So, if you want to use C-clamps and things like that to hold it together while the glue's drying, that's fine. But it can't be anything other than the materials provided within the kit. And again, our engineering professor will look at that. Average points for round one, theoretical maximum, if everybody on the team answered every question within the first second that it was put up, the average could be 50,000 points. But, I doubt that we'll see that. So it could be anywhere from 0 to 50,000. And it just depends on how each member of the team does. Every person participating will get a certificate of participation. And we can absolutely identify for those teams that made it to rounds 2, 3, and the finals that your team did reach that. Question about which day the first round is. We'll get to the date and time after we've answered the other questions. Okay, the time on answering one question, it could range from as little as 10 seconds up to 60 seconds for questions that require mathematical calculation. Just preparing for the competition, again, it's just reading as much as you can about general science and technology, engineering, and mathematics. We've already said the Kahoot is going to be about any field within science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. And it could be anything from the history to current theories to things that have just been publicized within the past couple of weeks. Building the bridge, again, you have to use the materials provided. You'll have 1 week to do that. Jeopardy. If you're not sure what Jeopardy is like, please just pop over to YouTube and watch an episode of Jeopardy. There are a lot of them available on YouTube. so you can see what it's like. But it's essentially a quiz where you have six different topics, five different answers that get progressively more difficult. There's a point value associated with each one. So the harder the question, the higher the point value. Um, so the Zoom link for round one will be sent out sometime within the next day or so. Um, so someone from the school could collect the materials for round two, or a school student representative. That will be up to how the school and the teams want to handle that. Our request is, though, only one person per team comes to pick up the materials, again, for COVID safety. There will be instructions given immediately before the start of each round to remind everybody exactly how that round is going to operate. The requirements for the bridge will be given when the kit is given, so that you are able to read the requirements and see what you're given at the same time. The dates and times for the future rounds, Lanita and Fatima will share those. Further questions, if you have further questions, please just send them into the STEM Challenge email, and we'll try and address those. We do have a frequently asked questions section on the website, which may be able to answer a lot of those. The first round, the test is online. Due to COVID-19, the entire competition has to be online. KHDA very wisely will not permit any face-to-face field trips or events like this until COVID has passed. There are more than 100 teams in the competition. I don't have the exact number, but that gives you roughly the idea. Lanita and the team will publicize the dates for the rounds. You may need a calculator for rounds 1, 3, and 4. So throughout the entire course of the competition, calculators are allowed. So you can use calculators. The questions on Kahoot are timed. They, again, range from 10 seconds to 60 seconds, depending on the complexity. So on the initial round, round 1, there is no trig or calculus, but trig or calculus may show up in rounds 3 and 4, the knockout rounds and the final. The results for round 1 will be published probably within about an hour after the completion of the round. It just will take us a little bit of time to total up and average all of the marks. Building the bridge. Yes, you build the bridge as a group. Now, whether you physically get together, maintaining proper COVID safety requirements, or whether you do the bridge with one person physically building it and everybody else joining in on Zoom and giving engineering advice, that will be up to you. We mentioned further instructions given before each round. The teacher mentor absolutely can pick up the packs and return the bridges. That's fine. So in the first round, each team member is answering their own questions on Kahoot. So there are 4 members of the team. We expect to see 4 people answering individually on Kahoot. The Kahoot name needs to follow the same naming convention. So when you log into Kahoot, make sure that it's your school, your team, and then your name. So all linked together. That way we can easily sort together your team members and average the scores. If you don't use that name format, we may not be able to figure out where you go and get your score counted. So it's school, team, individual name. How are the groups decided? Uh, so each team is able to come up with their own group members, and the scoring is done at the team level. Even if there are multiple teams from one school, each team is scored individually. No, you do not have to have your cameras turned on. We respect everyone's right to privacy, so you don't have to have the cameras on. But again, we do expect people to participate in this in a very fair and honest manner. How will we get the materials? So the materials for round two, if you're part of the 30 teams that are going through round two, one representative from the team, whether a team member or someone from your school who's a mentor, will come and pick up the materials at Curtin, Dubai. So the the Zoom links will be sent out as we go. So the Zoom link for round one should be coming out within the next day or two. And then those who go on to round 3 and 4 will be provided Zoom links for that. And of course, all the participants will also be given a Zoom link so that they can watch rounds 3 and 4 so that they can improve for next year and hopefully come back and win. We talked about how you get the materials for the kit. So the type of glue that's used for the bridge building, that's a surprise. You'll get to see when you get the kits. The knockout round, we have 12 teams who will go to the knockout round. So more than 100 do round one. Then we're down to 30 for the bridge test, 12 for the knockout round, and then 3 for the finals. Does the bridge have to be straight or curved? That will be up to how you decide to engineer it and the requirements that you're given. So you'll have to read the requirements as to length and height and things of that nature. Do you need to use pen and paper to work out questions? You can use pen and paper. You can also use a calculator. Either of those materials are absolutely fine to use as you go through. Age limit, we have requested that everyone be grade 10 or progressing into grade 10, and then all the way up through graduation from high school. There's no specific topics. Again, you just need to have broad general knowledge in the STEM fields. Size limit for the bridge will be included within the packet when you pick up the materials. The knockout rounds are head-to-head, 2 teams. They get a series of 10 questions. This team that scores the highest in those 10 questions wins. If it's a tie, we go to sudden death questions, where it goes back and forth until one question is answered correctly by one team and the corresponding question is answered incorrectly by the other team. The Jeopardy round, each team will have 6 topics, 5 questions each. Each of those is worth points. The team will go through their Jeopardy board, and again, the highest score will win first place, second highest score second, and so forth. Changing teammates. If a team member becomes unavailable, you can substitute another team member in, but you must notify the team that is handling the registration that there has been a change in team member. So we answered that. We talked about how many will proceed. It's 30, proceed from round 1 to round 2. The rules of Jeopardy, again, just watch Jeopardy on YouTube. The difference is we will not make you answer in the form of a question, and we also will not be allowing other people to steal. So your 30 questions are your 30 questions. We'll talk about the date and timing for round 1 in a moment. Okay, what type of questions are included in the third round? The third and fourth rounds, again, cover all types of questions across science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. They just get more difficult than the questions that were in the first round. So each round gets more difficult. We talked about replacing teammates. Just let our registration team know. Um, okay, do you need to know about tensegrity? Um, won't answer a specific question like that. Something like that may or may not come up. What constitutes a bridge? There will be specific guidelines as to what the bridge has to be like and then the material provided. Um, question as to are you allowed to use extra glue if you run out? You need to use just the materials that are provided. Similarly, again, you can't use other types of glue. You have to use the glue that's provided. Requirements of the bridge, again, that will be included with the bridge package. So when you get the materials, it will have the requirements. The responsibilities of the coach. This would be a great person to ask about what kind of things might be asked to get the coach to maybe quiz you and ask you questions out of the different fields of science, engineering, tech, and math, and to ask you questions about things that are currently going on or that have recently been announced. So the certificates, we will send both a digital and a physical certificate. So you'll get a scan of your certificate as well as we will make arrangements to get the physical certificates to your school. And after they've sat there for a couple of days so that they're COVID safe, then the school can hand them out. Pre-calculus, not in round one, but you may see that in rounds 3 and 4. We talked about the bridge size that's going to be given in the package along with the materials. If you want to change your team name, please contact the registration team. Let them know what the old name was and what the new name is going to be. Are the Kahoot questions in the same order for everybody? Yes, they are. Would knowing complex analysis and integral theorem help us significantly in winning? Not necessarily. We didn't go to that level within mathematics. Yes, there are prizes for the winners, including scholarships, certificates, medals, trophies, and some other prizes yet to be announced. Okay, the survey for typing for the timings of round 1, I'll let Lenita address that in just a moment. If you haven't taken calculus, will that be critical? No, calculus is not involved in the Kahoot questions. And what type of mathematics? You need to be prepared for algebra and geometry. Okay, I think we have gotten through all of the questions. I'd like to thank you again for your time and very much commend you for preparing yourselves for a future in the STEM fields, because that's where the future really lies. Okay, sorry. Question on Kahoot. Does it automatically tell us right or wrong? Yes, it does. After the question is answered, the right answer is put up so that everyone can see. Okay. And computer networking may be involved. So understanding things about IP addresses, that could absolutely be in there. Okay. So Lenita and Fatima, if I can turn this back over to you, and if you can work out the timing then for the first round.
Thank you, Dan. I think you've covered every bit of STEM challenge in detail. Thank you so much for that. We have repeated questions from students and mentors. And for the ease of everyone, we will be resharing the recording of the session. Along with it, please visit the STEM Challenge website. I'll share the link shortly. You can use the same to refer to the frequently asked questions for further clarity. I'd just like to mention a couple of things along with the pointers Mr. Dan has given. Please be sure to have strong Wi-Fi bandwidth when participating. If you fail to have, or if you have network issues, or if you fail to have stronger Wi-Fi, we will not make any exceptions. Only in the interest of fairness to all the team members. So it would be your responsibility to ensure you have strong Wi-Fi. All competition rounds will be held virtually. Therefore, please ensure the previous point I mentioned. The second round, where the items have to be collected, a kit for each team, the 30 selected teams, will be prepared and kept at the Curtin reception. You're required to come between 19th of April to 24th of April. The duration of 19th to 24th April will be made available for teams to come in, collect the kit, build the kit, and deliver. Any kits that are delivered after 24th will not be entertained. Those who are still struggling with one or two team members and are not able to get more team members from the same school, please drop an email to competitions at curtindubai.ac.ae. I'll repeat, competitions at curtindubai.ac.ae, so we can share your details with the incomplete teams from other schools. We will then allow you to probably mix and match under the guidance of your mentors and take the team forward. However, new teams, the registrations have been closed, but if there is new team members or change of team members, you're required to inform us before the end of the day. Meantime, whoever is struggling with one or just two team members, please write to us on competitions at, and we will give you some details of other teams who also are in search of the fellow team members. I hope we have pretty much covered everything that needs to be discussed. We on the chat box right now are have asked the questions about this a quick survey of when should we conduct the online rounds. A majority has mentioned timing C, which is from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. However, we will give it another few minutes to collect everyone's preferred timing. Once we have a majority, we will then announce the timing of the competitions along with the dates. Please be sure that the timing will be selected based on the majority, so that we are fair to as many as possible, but we also want to ensure that we have your maximum participation. Should you have any further questions once the survey, once we stop collecting the interest of time, we will share all the details along with the link to the FAQ page and the email address where you can share any queries you may have. The deadline for any questions or queries is 13th April, that is tomorrow until 12 p.m. Any questions after that, there may be a delay in responding as we will have to ensure that all STEM preparations are also done. So as a heads up, any questions you may have, please send them across by tomorrow, 12 p.m. We'll leave the space open to collect the timing preference for next couple of minutes, and we'll then share the information. Question on the Q&A that I'd like to address. The competition Zoom call will be during the weekend days. No, the timeline of the competition was already announced when we released the announcement of the competition itself. But for the benefit of everyone, I'd like to announce the dates again. The first quiz round, the Kahoot round, will be conducted on 18th April. The second round, that is the engineering project round, the duration will be between 19th April to 24th April, during which you have to collect, build, and drop off the engineering project. 28th of April, we will release the result of the engineering round, which is the second round. And on 29th, we will have round 3 and round 4. Round 1 Round 3 and 4 will be held online. Round 2 will be a collection of kit from the Curtin campus, building at your spaces and delivering it back to Curtin campus. The links for the competitions will be shared closer to the dates to ensure that you don't miss out. So, if you have any further questions or queries, you can always write back to competitions at curtindubai.ac.ae. Since it is during Ramadan and 12 will be time to pray, isn't it more appropriate to set the time before 12? Thank you for raising the concern. We, however, have not finalized that we will be going ahead with the timing. The majority, along with the circumstances, will be evaluated, and the timing, finalized timing, will be emailed within a day or two. So please be assured we will certainly evaluate as many information as possible before announcing the final dates, final timings. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. If you have missed out, please make it known that we will be sharing the link of the session so you can review it again. We will end the call. Feel free to leave the session while we wait for the rest of them to update the preference on the chat box. Thank you.